It's still stuck. Yeah, that's those are the buttons in the banner. But if I can bring it up on this, I can just switch between the two. All right, we're still officially not late. Right.
Mind if I close this out?
Go right ahead.
I always wanted to put these things. Goes down very smoothly.
Okay, so it did, yeah, something with that because it came up here. This is what it should look like. So I can just switch between the two. That would be okay.
Well, I should be able to load Flash.
Hey, we got more than 10 people. We're doing well. Yeah, I am too.
If you need to, John, you could use my laptop.
Well, his is working as well, but it's just
Yeah, and we can use my laptop too. It probably would be okay for another hour. I just don't have my power.
I can just install it now.
Log in as admin.
Install it.
Okay.
Install. I logged in as myself and my admin account. Installation complete. Wasn't installed before, so
Oh!
now it's working.
Okay.
So now I just log off.
That would have been a problem,
Log
wouldn't
in. Flash wasn't installed. Macromedia Flash player. Yeah.
That's standard. Come on, guys. All my classrooms, real-time, QuickTime, Windows Media Player, Flash.
Yeah. And I think we
Two
have all the
different
rest of
kinds
those.
of
Let's see, JG.
Yeah. If you get electricity there, right? Thank you very much.
No
but at
problem.
least now this room has Flash on it.
You'll need to restart.
Yeah, why don't I go ahead and restart there, call up our presentations. Get Carpenter up. Yep. Oh, kept my yeah. If you notice, I'm still logged in as me. Perfect. That's exactly what it's supposed to look like. All right. So we have that one up. Whoops. Number 2. Yeah, we have this one. I want this one to be law.umn.edu, and then we need to have yet another one up for Duke. Law.edu. That's perfect. Okay. I think we are here, and okay, yeah, that's fine. Perfect. Presentation are here, and F lock, F5. Ugh, nope, I gotta. It remembered it. Interesting. F lock again. F5. Yep. Oh, return, because I need to send to projector. And that works. Okay. I think we're set. Oh.
Turned on my part.
Belong. Hello. Am I on? Oops, nope, no, I'm not. There we go. Now I'm on. Thank you, and I'm sorry for the delay. We had a few technical issues. One of the things I wanted to demonstrate or show you real briefly had Flash on it, and the PC didn't actually have the Flash player on it. We are here to talk about mainly the process of redesigning your law school website, the public aspect of it, not your extranet, not your intranet, but what the world will see at large if they type in your law school's main URL. And this is much more of a process-focused discussion rather than a either technology or design discussion, but we will talk about both those things. I'm Gene Danilenko with the University of Minnesota Law School. I did very little in the design, as I'll talk about. The programmer who was supposed to have given this presentation wasn't able to come, so I got tapped, and here I am. Jen Carpenter is from Duke Law School, and she is web designer, web editor, webmaster, mistress, and we'll be handling half of that. The way we're going to structure this is I'm going to talk a little bit about the University of Minnesota and tell you what we did. Jen's going to talk a bit about Duke, and then we're going to talk about those obstacles and hurdles that really were common between both of our schools, and so what we feel would be common probably kind of across the board with many of your institutions, if that sounds okay with you guys. And please jump in and holler at us whenever you have a question or a comment or something you'd like to add. And in the third segment of our discussion, we're hoping very much that to have it more of a discussion amongst the entire group here. And thank you for coming on a Saturday, because I know many people leave, so this is great. A lot more people here than I thought. This is, if you can see it, what our law school website looked like about a year ago. Yes, sir? All right.
We can't get any more dimmer than this at this point.
Okay.
Goes, but yeah, it is really kind of best. Otherwise, we would raise the line.
Oh, and then dim lights.
And turn off all lights.
But what about note taking?
Well, note taking doesn't really work.
Oh. Okay. All right. Hey, we're in the dark. Okay. Hopefully, we will not be in the dark for long. This actually was our second generation website, or actually what I call our interim website. And it wasn't very good, to be quite honest. It has very inconsistent navigation. It was hard to find. It was pretty ugly. But none of us are graphic designers, and we were too cheap to hire one. So that's one of the issues that we'll talk about. And everything was centralized. So both the first generation and the interim website, everything had to flow through a webmaster. And he had to post it on the website or mark it up, that kind of stuff. We'd get Word or Word Perfect documents, those types of issues. After, this is what it looks like, and I will show it live. It's actually has what's considered a current look and feel to it. It has an integrated and intuitive, somewhat intuitive navigation. It is mainly database-driven now, where the content is stored in a database. And content management system allows us to decentralize content back out to our end users. And I will show that a little bit later also. Our need and goals for the new site. Well, we had a new dean. And as you probably all know, whenever there's a new dean, they have new ideas on how they would like to see things. And our website was an issue. Our public website was an issue. We've had student comments about its usability. It was hard to find information for prospective students. It was hard to use career services information. The external relations section didn't pop out at people. It didn't have pop. We have university guidelines for look and feel. The University of Minnesota has had some. Has been trying to enforce, and since we're a decentralized university, it's loosely enforced, a particular consistent look and feel among the academic units. And the law school is more autonomous than many of the other units, but when you buy in, they give you things, so it's more of a carrot than a stick. We definitely needed an easier way to keep content fresh. I think many people, and I know Duke has the same issue, it's really hard to keep your content fresh, and if it's all being forced into one funnel, that is your webmaster, it's even harder to keep it fresh. And keeping your content up to date is really critical, because it is a marketing piece for the most part. And we needed to highlight those high-value areas, which are for prospective students, external relations, our stuff for our alumni, and oh, okay. I guess that was. I thought there was another one. And then, of course, we had to be cheap. We are notorious, actually, for being really cheap in our unit. And I'm an awful negotiator when vendors have to deal with me because I drive a hard bargain. For resources, we had one person dedicated full-time for it, 100%, and this was the person who was supposed to be giving the presentation here to us. He did the architecture and the development. Our webmaster divided half of his time on this project and half of his time on our existing site. And in that half time he spent on the new site, it was a quarter. Half of that then was on development, and half of that was on content development with the end users. I'm the question mark here. I spent very little time on it. I do rollout and training, so and I would do some usability testing at the very back end, but I didn't actually start with our web development group until about a month ago. So we had templates, and I'll touch on that later. That was critical for us, because that means we already had prepackaged design, and we had law school users to do our testing for us. And they were the folks that helped us with our rapid prototyping. And we had very little money, actually, except for the people. Timeline. 6 months, or 6.5 months, is what we did for a rollout. This actually is considered to be incredibly aggressive. July 1st was when Nick was able to have his other duties reassigned elsewhere so he could work full-time on this project as a senior web developer. Took about a month to document requirements, a month to choose the CMS, a month to build a skeleton, about 10 weeks of development, content migration, and pow, it's there. And this is our overall process here. Pretty linear. The only thing is we had this 4 cycles of iterative development. What we did is we worked with our core end users, which was admissions and career services and external racial relations, so 3 of them. And we sat down with them with each iteration and got their feedback and did basically rapid development. So we would sit down, we would do stuff, they would suggest things, we would suggest things. We would stop, we would go back and code for a week, come back, do another week of that, go back and code for a week. And so we did that 4 times. And that's how we ended up with our final design. We used university-provided templates. Without the university-provided templates, there's no way we would have gotten this done, because none of the 3 of us who do web development are actually graphic designers. We're actually all, well, librarians, instructional technologists, data architects, DBAs, that kind of stuff. But none of us really have a design background. And so without that, there's just no way, and we didn't have money to hire external consultants. The business school is hiring external consultants to do their design, and it's spending in the 6 figures for that, and we didn't have that kind of money. We used existing stock photos from the university's central royalty-free pool and things that we had rights to from our law school publications. So our graphics are okay. I mean, they're not great, but they're all right. The developers, Nick and Tim, did go to a university-sponsored in-house content by Jerry McGovern, who is a well-known content structuring expert, and he does content critical. And so there was a about 100 people at the University of Minnesota that were able to attend this done in-house, and they were able to take away a lot from that to help them structure our website. We did evaluate the university's solution. For us to buy into it, it was very, very expensive, probably about $50,000, and we didn't want to do that. So we ended up looking at 3 open source solutions, Zope, OpenCMS, and WebGUI. We chose WebGUI 5.4 strictly because Nick and Tim knew Perl. And Zope is Python, and I can't remember what OpenCMS was in. It may have been Java, and Nick knows Java now, but didn't at the time. Did someone know what Open? It is Java, yeah. So we would probably be able to handle that now, but a year ago, no. So, yep, and I'll show you WebGUI in a bit, too. MySQL is the backend database, and once again, it's open source. So for the most part, the software is free. The templates were free, the labor cost. Development, we used a small group of testers. These are our users. 4 cycles. We had to spend a lot of time customizing WebGUI. WebGUI really is a framework, and we had to integrate our authentication procedures. We don't have single sign-on, but we do have it where you only have one password and one user ID for just about everything. It's just that it doesn't automatically authenticate you across the systems. You just have, but at least you don't have to have multiple usernames and passwords. It's just the same one because it goes off of the university's central admin authentication server. And we spent 10 weeks in development. I wanted to switch over now and show you the website. Let's see.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
You said templates were obtained from the central IT. And where are you running the server for the contents, or they are still managing the contents on their server?
Everything is on the University of Minnesota Law School servers. Everything, all of the content, all of the software.
So there's a separate server for law school?
Yes, we run our own servers. The only thing that we get from central administration or from central IT is they handle the authentication. We send them a request, and they come back with basically a token that tells us whether it's a valid request or not. I would like to set up an LDAP directory, but right now we have too many other projects to do with that. Mouse, excuse me. And law school. Okay. So anyway, this is what our law school website looks like now with a little bit bigger. Prospective students, of course, is highlighted in a couple of different places. My last slide, I'll talk about what we're looking to give a little bit more pop. We actually have an events calendar that pulls from our calendar database. So things, of course, there's nothing going on now. It's summer, and we're undergoing heavy renovations in our sub-plaza. And so pretty much nothing is going on at the moment because everything's closed down for renovation. But you would see a list there and then a link, and then it would tell you a little bit more about what was going. Yes?
Is your calendar database in Outlook?
No, actually, we do a lot of custom building, so it's a custom system, and we're building a new one, actually, but it's all custom development. We are not a Microsoft shop by any stretch of the imagination. It's on the desktop, and that's it. So, yeah, we're pretty much a Linux, Apache, open source, MySQL kind of place. Oh, I know. That's what I was looking for the thunderbolts to come down.
Remember what building you're in.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
So you built the calendar using Perl, or?
Right now, it's in Perl. We're re-architecting it using Enterprise Java Beans.
Okay.
Yeah. Once again, it'll be MySQL, and then we're using JBoss as the app server. And actually, I think at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you WebGUI too, because I'm running out of time here. Oops, let me find the right one. There we go. Okay, so this is, when I turn admin on, this is what the end users will see. They will see editing tools on the screen, which allows them then to get into the content. And so what I'm going to do is edit. And this is beautiful now because the end users don't need to know anything but Microsoft Word or WordPerfect to know how to use a generalized word processor, because a lot of these icons and buttons are the same as they would see in the word processor. It makes training very easy. And they can go ahead and then edit the content plane, which would be the middle column and the right-hand columns, and do a bold, do a italics. We tell them never to do an underline unless it's a link. So there are style guides. But so they can just go ahead and do pretty much their own content editing and even create new pages. But this, and they can drop and drag actually from Word. Works beautifully. So if they have a Word document and they just like highlight it and drag the content over it, it does it beautifully. WordPerfect doesn't work as nicely. Yes?
What system is that again?
This is the back-end content management system is WebGUI. This is version 5.4. We're going to migrate to version 7 when it comes up. I guess version 6 is considered to be will be beta-only releases. It's actually part of the code. So unless they're licensing something, but since it's open source, it can't. I mean, it can't be a commercial product. So yeah, no. So it's free. As long as you have a developer who knows Perl, they can customize it. So but that's enough about it. But like I said, it works beautifully. I'm not going to show you how the different things are set up, but you can add pages, add planes, add columns. But so let me go back to this and just kind of wrap things up here. There we go. Oh, shoot. Boom, 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 boom. Migration and rollout. We had to transfer the existing content. We wrote custom scripts that grabbed stuff from the static pages. Our pages were all templated, so we knew where the content was, and then plopped them into the database. We had to still manually clean things up and purge the bad content. I formally trained our beta users in February, and I'm continuing with our training and re-rollouts. I do have an online tutorial that I wanted to just quickly show you also. So escape. Which I developed actually for one of my classes. And then, so this, I do one-on-one tutorials, one-on-one classes, but because people don't update their content all that often, they forget. And so I'm not always available to come and help them immediately. So what this is it's just our style guide and glossary, and then I have to build this out. I have the basic functionalities on the left-hand side, and so the folks can get like a little, it's just a instruction, and then there's a screen capture video that they can watch. But it allows them to pretty much kind of pick and choose whatever they want. But I walk them in through the entire process of logging in and editing content and adding a new page. And so this helps alleviate some calls that I would get. And these things work real slick. And I think with that, I am done. Unless you have further questions, I'm going to turn it back over to Jen. Well, actually, hang on. I have one more thing I wanted to say. Sorry. I'm wordy. I can't help it. We do have a slightly modified front page under development because now that it's been out for 6-7 months, we have prospective students on our front page 3 times, and that's overkill. So what we want to do is just highlight it a little bit more and box it in, and because we have a really long front page, too many things beneath the fold, beneath the screen. We have to do more training. We need to get our student organizations to keep their content fresh. And I need a part-time web content editor because we have really bad inconsistencies with their style. So I think that's been approved, and we're going to have someone kind of run through and have a decent writing style. Okay, sorry.
No one has to approve anybody's content changes? You don't
No.
have a web committee that says that's a go, that's terrible?
Only on design. So when we do we have to do a new round of photo and graphics. So then we have what's called an editorial board, and they approve any graphical design elements for whether it's a web publication, print publication, that kind of stuff. But department heads are responsible for their own content. So I'm responsible for content on the educational technology and training sites. John's responsible for the stuff, the computer services focus of it. I usually have my boss take a look at it, and she looks at it and says, "Looks great." But it's more what what the folks on the department heads want. Now, the dean probably wants to see stuff for prospective students, wants to see stuff for external relations, so those folks probably pass some things by him. For technology, the next level down is good enough for people to take a look at it, but it's more of an informal process rather than formal. It's tightly controlled as far as who can edit what, who has rights to which pages, so not anyone can just go in and edit a page. It's the content owner of that page.
Right.
So.
I just wanted to ask, the people who are doing content do their own design and pick and choose from the graphic elements that have been approved?
There is a way to upload graphical images.
Right.
Yes. There's no way to change.
The basic.
Yeah, the basic templates. Those are locked in. So what they can change. Oops. So what they can change is stuff here and here. So this up and around is all set in stone, and they, okay, we do look at the stuff after it's gone up. If they've done a lot of graphical elements and if it looks really awful, we say, geesh, let's work with you a little bit and revise that. But we don't have a whole lot of stock images also, so there isn't a great deal of flexibility. I could show you some other sites where we do have more photos, but it's, like I said, we're kind of running a little bit low on time. And you can head out to our website and take a look. It's decent. It's not going to win any awards, but it's good. It's much better than it was. Oh, you're going to...
Can everyone hear me? Great. I'm Jennifer Carpenter, and I'm the web editor and designer at Dewclaw School. And let me pull this up. There we go. And in 2002, thank you very much. In 2002, Dewclaw began its first school-wide web redesign project. Now, all of our departmental sites had their own individual look and individual feel, and we wanted to have a consistent look across all of our sites. That was the primary goal of the redesign. So what we set out to do was to have this consistent look, start streamlining content, get the navigation much more easy to use, and then have the branding of the Dewclaw logo on all of our sites. This is a little sample of the departmental sites that we had. And as you can see, they all have the different look. We have content that were links that we can question and see if they're navigation or not. But the departments really didn't know exactly what navigation meant, so they just had a lot of various links on their site. They also had, I thought was really interesting, the Dewclaw logo. Some of the departments used it. This particular group, our international programs group, didn't have the logo on their site at all. Others, such as the alumni, had the updated logo. The library site had an old version of the logo. But these designs were brought about by the web services team over a very long period of time with a rotating cast of staffers who developed these designs, as well as the departments would create some of these designs themselves, too. So there were several people who were involved in this process, a rotating cast of people who were creating these designs, and then no real designer actually creating these sites. So this is the type of issues and concerns that we had for our departments and what we wanted to streamline and get together for that consistent look and feel. This is the Dewclaw website, how it looked prior to our redesign. And this was the model that was used for about 4 or 5 years, from about 1998 to 2002. And as you can see, it's just a very, as Gene was saying about his website, it's sort of ugly. It was a very useful design at first, with the navigation on the side, a little bit of content in the middle, information about the visiting law school, or visiting law school information on the side. But it really wasn't useful for our students. And the goals that we had for our homepage, this model, this design, just really didn't work for us. And I'll talk about our goals in just a second. A little bit of background information about web services. We're a 2.5-person staff. I do the web editing and designing for our department. Nick Drury is our web services coordinator, and he does the vast majority of programming for our site. There's also a woman named Deb Kinney, and she is the library web editor. So all of the work that she does for the site is controlled within the library framework and the library contributions to our site. We had an outsourced template. The template that was used, and again, I'll show you that in just a minute, was designed by the same company that handles our print media. So what we wanted to do was not just have a consistent look across our websites, but also across any publications and any print media that was put out by Duke Law School. The content management system is what we refer to as a web publisher. This was done in-house by our web services coordinator. And the reason why we chose to have an in-house content management system is because Duke University in 2002 was reviewing various vendors trying to define what the best content management system would be for the entire university. So even though they were going through this process and we knew that they were going to make a decision soon about who they would go with, we knew that it would take several months, and that, in fact, it's taken over a year for that content management system to trickle down to the law school. It ended up that they've decided to go with Zope, and they're working with Zope right now on customizing templates for the various schools within Duke. And we have 2 servers that were set up to handle the redesign, of course, the development, so the departments could see what we were going to deliver to them, and then the production, the live server. The redesign goals. Again, let you take a look at the home page and our departmental sites. The goal for the home page was to have an updated and a fresh look. We also wanted to have a calendar that was very important to us as well. We had about 3 different calendars that our departments used, but to access information in those calendars, you had to go to that particular department. And we decided it was best to have a central calendar so that you had to go to one place and one place only to get information about events going on at the law school. We also wanted to highlight the accomplishments and the works of the Duke Law community. So we wanted people to be able to see what our faculty were doing, what the alumni had been up to, what our students were contributing to Duke Law. So it's very important we incorporate that into the homepage. And then I think the focus for many of us is for prospective students. We want them to have a place that they can come to and feel as though that website is the leader in that law school that they're interested in joining. One of the ways we went about incorporating this sort of personalized feel into the homepage was to add pictures. So in addition to having stories about the faculty and the students, we would have a photo of every person, every faculty, every story, whatever that story was about, or whomever that story was about. We made sure to have a picture to go along with that so that the prospective students could have this personalized feel and know what they would expect, what their students look like, what our faculty look like if they were to come to our school. The sub-sites, again, we just wanted to have a uniform look across all of our departments, as well as defined navigation and an easy-to-use navigation. Overall, we wanted to increase the communication within the law school, so within our departments, between staff, between faculty and students, as well as to communicate to the outside world what's going on at Duke Law. And of course, for web services, it was very important for us to have clean code, which, because the departments were handled by several people, and the designs were handled by several WYSIWYG editors as well, we wanted to make sure that code was cleaned up and looked good. The migration process, from the few of you that I've spoken with, as well as Jean's experience, it seems that we did a slightly different way of migrating to this redesign, migrating to this new look. And what we did is we broke this down into phases. The first phase was that we looked at the home page and we said we're going to update that first, and that's going to be the first rollout that we're going to have. And we started with, it was a very difficult task, with new content. Because we wanted stories and information, again, with the law school community focus, we had to create news stories, we had to create archives, we had to create features and things of that nature that we didn't have, and we ended up becoming the content managers of this information in conjunction with communications department. We had the university calendaring system. Now, the calendar system was new to Duke University, and what we did was take that information that was going into the university-wide calendar and extract that information out through scripts and pull it out so that we could have just the law school information premiered on our homepage. The admissions portion of our website was very important to have in that first initial rollout, so we redesigned that department site as well. And any additional pages that were featured off of our new homepage layout, we brought those into the new design as well with our first phase of the rollout. The second phase was our department sites. Alumni, career services, all of those departments. The way we approached the redesigning the departments was one at a time. So we would work on the alumni site, roll it out, then go to career services. We didn't put this in the hands of the departments to manage their own content initially. We would eventually get to that, but not initially as we were going into our first school-wide redesign project. The centers and programs came next. They're slightly different from the departments in that they're not necessarily 100% dedicated to the law school. They may have resources in some of the other graduate programs, such as business, various other programs. So we gave them an opportunity to use the Dewclaw template, to use the shell, but we didn't mandate that they had to go along with this look. And then the ancillary pages, any other additional pages that weren't necessarily premier pages, that weren't featured off the home page, those were last. And those were really done on, as we could get to them sort of basis. The redesign process. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual workflow and how we went about redesigning these departmental websites. We didn't have this model in place when we began. It was something that we had to stumble into from some great successes and some awful, awful experiences that we ended up following the Goto and Cutler model for web redesign workflow. And I'll give you a link at the end of this so you can see this, or if you wanted more information about that type of workflow. So first of all, what we did was defining the project. And this is where we would meet with the departments and we would talk about the importance of the redesign and the content. A lot of times departments wanted to have a lot of images and graphics incorporated into their site, and that was the redesign to them, and we wanted to stress the importance of content and keeping that fresh. Now, of course, we would encourage them to visit their peer institution sites to see what types of content are others having on their site and how they're displaying this content. We showed them our template and our color palette for the redesign, so they would have an idea of what their site was going to look like. And we also brought in the role of communications. Now, the Web Services Group worked with the departments as far as streamlining their content and reviewing their content. But we also had communications come in because it is a PR event as well. Assigning project teams and content managers. I don't even think I could really use the word assign. What would happen is that we would tell the departments that we're going to redesign their sites, and those people who were interested enough to come to our meetings sort of became the project team, and then by default became the content managers. Timeframe and map. What we told them and the way we progressed with the redesign was that we didn't do any work, we didn't do the main grunt of our work until the content from the department had been delivered to us. We did a few things, which I'll get into in the next phase. We did a few things in preparing and showing them what their site was going to look like. But as far as doing any real work and production into getting code into these sites, we didn't do that until they delivered all the content to us. So we let them know right up front that the time frame was really, of rolling out their site, was dictated by them. It was in their hands. And of course, if there were any questions or concerns or discussion about some of the technologies that were being used, we would answer those as well. Phase 2 is developing the site structure. And this is where, again, in conjunction with communications, we would have departments review their existing content and see what was good, what they wanted to bring over to the new site. Writing for the web is, again, something that we'll get into a little bit later as far as some of the hurdles and obstacles of writing for the web. A lot of our groups wanted to take pre-existing content that they had written for print medium, so brochures, pamphlets, and things like that. They wanted to take that content and then just plunk it into the website. And we had to tell them that that's not the type of content we want. So, for example, things such as, if you want further information, please see the Dewclaw website at http://. We had to get that sort of content and that sort of phrasing out of the web content. And we would either do that ourselves or we would talk to the department about revising their content. Content delivery, again, that was where we told the groups that they needed to get the content delivered to us before we would go forward with working on the site. The site map. We didn't really do this too much. We actually found that providing a site map for the departments to review was a bit more confusing. Our sites were a bit messy. There were, for every one page that was viewable on a department website, there were probably 10 other versions of this page that they didn't know about, or they did know about, or they used it as some sort of reference, but not as an actual living document on their website. So providing any sort of site map was a bit confusing. If they needed an outline of their navigation, we actually found that to be much more effective. And the model for their navigation was something that we also put into sort of the shell of their site so they could see this is how the viewer is going to approach your site based upon these links. The visual design. This is where we would take our template that was provided to us and we would create a shell of the department's site to let them know what it was going to look like. And we take dummy text, lorem ipsum, and we plunk it in, and we let them see, with their navigation, this is how the site is going to work, this is how the site is going to function. And it really gave them an opportunity to see the work that we were doing to create their website. A lot of times we ran into this pitfall of when departments had to work on content, it slowed down the process of getting out this website. Content is very hard for people to work on, and when they're working with web services and the communications department to create this content, it's not something that they want to do. So when we had this design of their site already up where they could actually click on links, see how it's going to work, they were much more willing to return to getting their content clean, getting their content fresh, and getting it to us so that we could continue with the real work of the site. And then, of course, having this site model, it also gave us an opportunity to addressing design issues and test the functionality of the site. The last phase was where web services really took control of the project. And this is where we confirmed that we had all the information from the departments so that we could go forward with our work. And then Nick and myself would coordinate how we're going to approach this redesign and what our roles are going to be in it. And building was where we really got our hands dirty, and this is where we started cleaning up the pre-existing content. We had to do this manually. We had no wrappers and no indicators from the content in their current sites that separated where the content began and where the design ended. So we had to manually go through these pages and extract that information. For new content, content was usually given to us in Word or WordPerfect documents. And what we wanted to do, again, is for this initial rollout, we wanted to be the people who would clean the code, get this into the content management system. Once we did that and rolled out their new site, then we would hand the control of the content back over to the department. But initially, this is something that we were going to do for them. Preparing images, as Gene experienced at Minnesota, we also do not have any sort of image repository. So we relied on the departments to obtain images in some way they could, or whatever way they could. We were also able to get some from our communications department, from our publications at Duke, and to pull out any images that people were able to obtain from us. But we did not have any sort of image repository. And once the site was completed, we would test it. We would let the department know that it's up, it's available for them to test. And once that was completed, then we were ready to launch the site. Launching for us, of course, was coordinating the site rollout with the department. So we were very precise, and we would say at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're going to roll out the site. And we gave them an opportunity to do whatever PR, campaign, or information that they wanted to provide about that. Backing up the site, of course, we would archive it. Because we had two servers, we were able to just copy the information on the production server over to development. Maybe the reverse of that. Maintenance, the content management system. Because it's an in-house content management system, we really had to have much more hands-on training than what we expected. And the content management system, the interface is not very user-friendly. Unfortunately, I don't have an example of that today to show you. But it is not a necessarily easy interface for people who don't have a technical background to handle. So our content management system is this constantly revolving application, and we have to work very hands-on with our customers to let them know how to work with that. Graphics and image editing, our departments can't do that, as well as there is no image repository. So we handle any image editing that needs to come, that needs to be part of the site, as well as our content management system does not allow any sort of means to upload any images and editing, so we are handling all of that ourselves. Layout and modifications, we have 2-column layout and 3-column layout models, and if the departments have a 2-column layout and want to go to the 3-column or add any other sorts of features under their site, they can't do that. All they can do is edit the content of their site, and the content is typically one portion, the middle portion of their site. So occasionally we have to come in and help redesign certain parts of their site. But as long as it's a page or two, we consider it just modifications. If it's more than that, then we consider it a redesign, and we start the whole process back over again. So the time frame for all of this, because again, we worked in these 4 phases. For the home page, it took us about 2.5 months to create the home page, and that includes getting the template from this design company and getting it into our content management system, as well as creating the new pages and us being the content owners of this new information that was going to be on the home page. The departmental sites, it took us about 4 weeks to work on each site, and it took about 2 weeks actually from the time that the content was delivered to us to actually roll out their site. That process was about 2 weeks. Sometimes it took the departments longer, though, to get that content to us. But on average, I think it was about 4 weeks. And a total time frame of all of our departments was about 4 months. For the centers and programs, they're usually smaller websites, so we were able to turn these around fairly quickly in about 3 weeks. And this process is ongoing. A lot of our centers and programs jumped on board initially to want to go with this new template and this new look, but several of them wanted to stay with what they had. So we are constantly being approached by our centers and programs that now want to opt to go to this new look and this new design. So we're still working on that, as well as any ancillary pages, anything that we didn't do in the first 3 phases of the rollout, anything that are pages that aren't necessarily premier pages, sort of forgotten pages. There are no content owners. They really don't fall under the responsibility of any department. We'll update those as necessary. So the results of this is that we have a law school with great news and features and information with a community focus, that we have the inviting look and feel because we have a lot of photographs and images on our site. We have the calendar there. We have the consistent look across the department sites that we wanted. The content, at least when we first went through this redesign process, the content was fresh and clean, and we hope that our departments maintain that. And then we have, again, sort of by default, we have content managers assigned, or at least people we know we can go to say your content needs to be updated or to review content with. And, of course, we have our content management system, which is great. And I want to show you the website. Here we are. So this is what we have today. And I'll show you the international website. This area at the top where we have the Dewclaw, the blue banner coming across the top images, the navigation down the side, this is the model. That's the shell that we have for all of our departments. So everything is going to fall into this framework. And then the middle portion, that content, that's where they have the freedom to design and to add any content that they want. I'll show you just one more, the centers and programs. Now, the centers and programs, again, because they're not the departments at the law school, they had a little bit more flexibility with what we would do with their websites. They still fell into this framework of here's the model, here's the shell, we have the banner across the top, left navigation down the side. But we tried to give them a little bit more individualized look and feel as they wanted it, and and so we had this little bit of a different design for them, which they're very happy with. A lot of our programs did not want to go into this template because it looked too much like everyone else on the site. But adding a bit more color, a little bit more design aspect to the sites has helped them to feel very comfortable about the work that we've been giving them.
Excuse me.
Yes?
How different is this site from the university basic template?
This is the Dewclaw template.
Yeah, but do you have to abide by certain basic structure from the whole university book?
We have absolutely no guidelines from the university at all. So anything that we do on our site is mandated by a small group within Dewclaw School, but nothing implemented by the university or no standards from the university, top down like that. Okay. And just really quickly, I'm going to go back and just a little bit about sort of the resources and with our redesign project. The design outsourcing as well as the in-house content management system were discussed at last year's CALI conference. So if you'd like to know more about why we chose to outsource the template as well as how the content management system was built, this is the address for CALI's conference from last year, and there's a presentation called Web Redesign and the Devil's Work, and there is a webcast of that event that's available online and still working. Web Redesign Workflow that works, Gatto and Cutler. This is the workflow model that we use for redesigning our department websites. Stephen Krug, Don't Make Me Think, is a wonderful book about usability and about the user's perspective on designing sites. The information from that book was very helpful in relaying what we wanted from our templates and how we wanted the information to be displayed. And we used that book as a good source for talking to the design group that created the templates for us. And now we just want to talk a little bit about sort of the issues and obstacles that we've encountered at Dewclaw and at the University of Minnesota when it comes to redesign and some of the issues that we've had with that, and hope that if any of you have any questions about this, please feel free to answer, as well as if you have any feedback or comments about some of these, we'd love to hear them.
I have a question here.
Yes?
For content management, on a daily basis, you have one webmaster who sort of oversees content management. Then also you have, as you said, like a content manager from each department.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How do you all work together? What if your department and the content managers don't do their job?
Mm-hmm.
Give their content a threat.
Well, we have, again, by default, sort of these content managers. There's only one department who actually has a dedicated content manager person, where that's part of their job description. And unfortunately, she's going to be leaving us in a couple of weeks. What we do is my role is to look at these sites and see, is the content being kept up? Are people paying attention to their sites? If not, or if there is something that should be changed on their site, then I will contact those content managers and say, here's some issues with your site. Please, review this. Please update this. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll help them through that process. But our role is to encourage these content managers to update their site. Yes?
I'm a library manager, and I wonder how much you was trying to put together all the databases and put together.
Right. Well, the databases for the library system were already in place. So for us, it was really creating this interface to these databases, to this information for the library. She is a full-time employee, but she works part-time in web services. So we approached the whole redesign process together at the same time for designing their site. They had actually a little bit more flexibility than the departments in designing their site, and we just worked as a team together to create that. Now, there was a bit more bureaucracy in that she had to get sign-off and approval from more of the library staff than we had to with the departments. But it was actually a very long process with the library, but we just approached that as a team.
Our law library actually is actually about 50% of our overall site as far as content, and it's still not completely migrated over. It's something that we're still working on over the summer because there's so much information and so much integration that has to go on.
They keep adding more electronic.
Right.
Yes?
Since you've decided to use pictures of your faculty and students on the site,
Mm-hmm.
can you talk a little bit about how you get their pictures and how you're getting signatures for rights permissions to go up?
Right. That, fortunately for us, is handled by the communications department. They are a fairly new department. I've always had someone who was handling their communications, but it's been the past 2 years that we actually had someone who was truly over communications. And when she is creating the publications, the brochures and things for Dewclaw, she gets sign-off at that point from the students, from the faculty, about photos, using particular types of photos. A lot of times we may use a photo, but the faculty member doesn't like that photo. And we go, well, what are we supposed to do? This is the photo that we have. And they may send another one through communications and to us. So we don't really have a centralized way of looking at these pictures and ensuring that there is sign-off, but it's understood as far as our responsibility that if this comes from the communications department and they're housing all of this information for us, then we use those pictures as necessary.
For us, law school external relations handles. We have a zoo book so we have photos of all of the faculty and students. We can't post student pictures though because of privacy laws, but the faculty are open game. So.
Yes.
We recently redesigned our site, and we're sort of into the phase where we're trying to allow different departments to update their own content. But because of budget reasons, it's a static site. And I'm just wondering if anybody, if you or anybody in this room has used a program like Contribute 2 that allows people to have certain access to update their sites.
We are going to, like, we are in the process of doing the same thing, but we were told the university has got a site license for Red Dot, which is a content management system. And I was told you could do this kind of thing, like, for example, each professor could go to his or her web page and do the content management system. Yeah.
We use Empower, and I found it actually pretty good. And what's hard is to get the staff who are responsible for the specific pages
Right.
to actually go there and do that.
That's actually the worst issue overall.
It's
Yeah.
I could say that our main university about a year ago evaluated several content management systems. One of them that was suggested was Contribute. Everyone to come in and do presentations. Macromedia just didn't product. So the webmaster was really excited about it, but ultimately they wanted to
Okay.
question. The tutorial that you did for training the staff.
Oh, yeah?
Would you make that tutorial available?
It's sure. It's in the PowerPoint, and the PowerPoint is posted. Should be on the CALI website. Because since that URL is kind of buried a couple layers underneath. You can also find it on our main web. On the law website, underneath technology, and then underneath educational technology, and then beneath that, technology training, where I have a link to it. But it's also in the PowerPoint, the direct URL to it. And it has a funny URL because it's on a different server, and I initially did it for a class, and I didn't want to rename all the pages. So,
Yes?
You mentioned that the difficulty is getting the content managers to do the content updates, and I think that that's always going to be the problem. I'm a content management system yet, and we tried that several years ago, and I couldn't get anybody to do anything. So, but I don't have any real authority over these people. So
Right.
I was a
Right.
village. I was,
Yep.
and webmac instead of webmaster. But anyway, now the question is, can you get the administration to buy in, and can you do like periodic review of the sites, looking for old content, and say, you haven't updated this in 3 months. Do you want,
well, since content management systems are database driven, we can run reports on when the last time a file was accessed or updated. So we plan on doing that, and we are working on an escalation procedure policy. So I don't know what is that similar. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
We're actually trying to get a bit more buy-in from the dean. We've had the look that we have for the Dewclaw website has been in existence now for almost 2 years, and the dean is now ready for a new look. She wants something more from it. So she's demanding more from the website, and we in turn want to try to demand more from her so that we can get the buy-in to assign content managers formally and to have a structure in place where if they don't keep their content fresh, that it does go up the chain as far as someone else needs to be notified of that.
Yeah.
Yes?
Well, with your user tester site, and did that lead to any changes to your original design?
A lot of it had to do with functionality. So there were significant improvements in how content is edited and how links were laid out and how the drop downs on the administrative interface actually worked. So yeah, there were, and how, because WebGUI was completely customizable. For example, how you could view the page trees, because it's really easy to create a page and then lose it within WebGUI. And so there's a way to view the entire page tree and see which pages are there and which ones are in which hierarchy. And so we had to rebuild that because what came kind of out of the box or whatever out of the source wasn't very good. So yeah, a lot of it had to do with this, how things were formatted, how things were structured, the functionality of certain editing features. But it was, I mean, Nick said it usually would only take them 3 to 5 days to make substantial changes to whatever the users wanted. So yeah, but they were very involved in the whole kind of functionality and then look and feel of the layout, with the understanding that there was only the left and the right hand planes that were available. Because the initial banner that was set by our editorial board, so the banner and the left hand side based on university templates.
Just to share sort of our process, because we just went through this in Florida. We have like 23 departments and centers, different content providers, and we originally said we're going to redesign everything. Time to look at what you got. What do you want to change? Well, out of those 23, one department said, "Here's what we want to do." Mm-hmm. So we changed gears and we said, "Well, screw it." I'm sorry. We're gonna take a more aggressive approach.
Right.
We actually just started taking the old content from the old site and just plugging it into the new design.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Then when people could see that and say, "Oh, this is cool. Here's a few changes I'd like to make," they sort of started developing after the process, and that worked out really well. Everybody liked the new design, and we got through all the politics too.
Mm-hmm.
The web services team wanted to take that approach, but we couldn't. We were not allowed by the dean and by our higher-ups to do that, but we thought that would be a great way to stimulate people to look at their content, review it, and to get those changes to us. One of the reasons why we approached the redesign as one department at a time was to address issues like that, because we sent out an email to all of our departments saying that the new look for the law school is coming. Sign up now. Who wants to be first to have their website redesigned? And we got no response. But what we found is that when we met with each department individually, everyone had great ideas and all of these things that they wanted from their site, and because no one approached them, no one came to them, they just had these ideas just floating around in their heads that they did nothing with. So working with each department one-on-one, we were able to hear what it is they want to do, what it is that they wanted to do for years, but have never been able to implement, never felt like they could. I hope that in the future, because we've gone through this first redesign, I hope that going forward, we will have redesigns every probably 2 to 2.5 years, and hopefully going forward that the departments will buy into it more because they see the benefits of going through the redesign phase.
One other thing to mention, and I'm noticing your timelines here, is that it always takes longer than you think it will, or that you plan for. But I'm noticing from several people that I've talked with that you're probably looking anywhere between 8 months to a year from the time you decide you're going to redesign till the time that you have everything done.
Right. Right. If you were to look at the Dewclaw website and all the pages, you'll find several pages that still are not in the new look.
Right, like our library website isn't yet.
Who consulted and who made the final decision on the color and the font and style sheet and everything?
We had a committee set up with the web services manager, who is Wayne Miller, some of you may know, our communications department, the head of information services, as well as the dean. There was another committee with not quite as many powerful people in it that were working with the design team to give them the types of specifications we wanted from the template, but they gave us 3 different template styles, and it was that committee of that management team that made the final decisions on, this is the color palette and the template we want, and this is how we want the shell of all of the sites to appear.
We have an editorial board that's similarly structured that does that, but they handle, like I said, not only just the web stuff, but all law school publication design.
Are there any other questions?
Any other questions? Great. Thank you very much for attending.
Great.
Yay, it went well.
Yes. Yeah.